Hey there, hope you're doing well. In this podcast, I was going to talk about a Lambda issue that I was running into, that I'm currently working on. But I then decided just after I turn record that I'll do that in the next podcast. And in this one, I want to talk about something else, something a little less technical, but related to what I do, regardless. So I've been watching Test cricket of late. Cricket. If you're unfamiliar, I'll give you a quick background. Test cricket is a sport that's played over 5 days, right? It used to be played over 6 days years ago, and then folks figured out that it's probably a little too long, so they made it five. So it's 5 days right now. They start, let's say, on day one, Monday morning, for example, right? It's three sessions. Every day is split into three sessions, and it's kind of relevant to what I'm going to say. So you have to bear with me and understand this a tiny bit. Each day is split into three sessions. So there's 15 sessions in all. Each session, there would be 30 overs bowled. So the bowler or the pitcher, or as they call bowlers in cricket, they would bowl 30 overs in each session, give or take, and then go to the next session and then to the third one. So it's 90 overs a day. So after the first session, 2 hours later, they would take a lunch break, come back, and then they would play for 2 hours and then take a tea break, which is shorter, come back and then play the last of the sessions of the day. And within a session, after every hour, they get a drinks break, just because they need to just get hydrated and all. So that's how Test cricket is played, and that's the only form of cricket that I truly enjoy. I liked it years ago, and I still like it, and I pay for subscription and watch it on like Willow and ESPN Extra. So that is a quick enough background, and I'll come to it right now. To someone who hasn't watched cricket at all, or Test cricket in particular, it's natural for you to wonder, why would a sport, a single match take that long? That's the nature of the beast, and some of us love that that version of the sport, including the folks who play play that version of the game. They feel proud that they're able to play in that team, in that version, because you have different players playing in different versions of the cricket. Some that last a day, some that are only like 2 or 3 hours long, the shorter, more popular versions these days, and then the more traditional 5 day version. So it's the toughest way to play cricket. I mean, you couldn't get lucky. The reason it's called Test cricket is because it literally tests you as a batsman, as a bowler, as a fielder, as an umpire, as a coach, and as everybody, right? So it's probably the truest form of cricket, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people. And now, when you take 15 sessions and you think about session 7, it's all right if you thought that, hey, how important could a single session be? You could do something silly, stupid, or screw up, in that session, and it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference, right? Because if you messed up 3 sessions, that's still only 20% of the overall match. You still have 80% left. But interestingly, that's not how it works. Every session has a meaning. What it means depends on a variety of factors: the teams playing the match, where it's being played on, the conditions, whether it's in England or India or Australia or South Africa or the West Indies. It depends, right, on a plethora of factors, on the type of players playing that sport, the weather conditions on that particular day, whether there's the wind, the direction of the wind, and then there's a number of other things that go into the making of that day, essentially, right? And the outcome of the day as well. But every session, so it's unique in its own way. And if I took a random session in Test cricket, it brings a significant value and makes a significant difference to the overall outcome of the match. So you couldn't take any session lightly. So if out of the 15 sessions, if you took session 7 and you took like a 30-minute window within that 7th session, you could tell that there are a few sessions that almost make or break the entire match, and nobody knows what that session is going to be, or which part of the session is going to be that important, right? Now that's a pretty detailed background about cricket, and hopefully you can remember this if you watched my other podcasts as well, because I'm going to kind of make references to this a little more often in the next few podcasts. Now let me take that to software development. Right now you're launching a product, whether it's an MVP or you're building just implementing a new feature or doing an enhancement. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Whether which part, what stack it is, whether it's what part of the stack it is, all of that is a moot point. No matter what you do, you're going to have to break that down into if you took sessions from Test cricket as an example, you would break it down however you want to break it down. Maybe you call it sprints, maybe you call it whatever. Those terminologies change all the time and they don't honestly matter. But what does matter is how you break it down in a meaningful fashion that's sizable, but it's still manageable, right? It's not too big, not too small, and it has a meaningful end result or an outcome to what needs to come out of it. So if I took a new feature, or what I'm working on right now, what we're working on right now is not a new feature, it's actually a completely new repo, a new application, which is heavily on the server side. Not just heavily, it's actually entirely on the server side, right? And there's a lot of stuff we need to do to get that out the door. But let's say we do it in a 3-month time frame. I'm just pulling these numbers out of thin air, so take that with a grain of salt. But let's say it would take us 3 months to get this done. We need to break that down into either bi-weekly milestones or even weekly milestones. We like to keep them small and quantifiable and sort of achievable and testable, right? And if nobody likes to slip. We don't like to slip as well. We don't want to miss any deadlines, any milestones. But again, you might miss some. You might have to carry some forward, etc., etc. But regardless, as somebody who's managing this and implementing it, that if you broke the 3 months into like 13 milestones, right? Say it's 3 months is like 13 weeks. If you took a weekly milestone, it's 1 week. Each week is kind of a session. You need to achieve a certain thing in that session. And within that week, there are certain days and certain periods of those days that become all the more important, because you might be stuck with a problem, with more than one problem. Like currently, we are working on something that we're trying to get past with lambdas and layers on AWS, and I'll do a podcast on that just following this one, and you can watch it if that interests you and sort of connect the dots between this video and that one. But essentially, each of those weeks means a lot to us, and within the weeks those days mean a lot. But which week becomes more important or makes all of the difference to the outcome of this project, or which of the days within a particular week make the difference, we don't know, right? So what that means is we have to treat every week and every day and every session within those days with the same amount of respect, right? Just like we treat every client with the same amount of respect, no matter how big, small, or super small you are, or no matter, we treat every stack with the same amount of respect, whether we're working on one that's as popular, whether that's immensely popular today, or one that was popular like 2 years ago. It doesn't matter, right? Everything has to be treated with the respect that it deserves, and all of them deserve the same amount of respect and a lot of respect, just like people, right? Code is something that the machine interprets and compiles and runs and executes, but still it deserves all the respect. If not, it's going to come back and bite you. So just to go back and draw this parallel one more time. Just like every session in cricket is important, and I say this because I've been watching Ashes and I've been catching up on a game match that ended like probably a month ago. I watch an hour a day or something. I don't look up the results upfront, obviously. And you can appreciate the fact that when you're watching this session 7 and something happens in the next 20-minute window, and if you listen keenly to the commentators, they actually give you an idea, right? Because that you can almost feel the importance of that session even before that session actually happens. Similarly, there would be days when you're working on implementing something where you feel the importance of what you're doing, right? You would feel it, your boss might feel it, and it doesn't matter if nobody else feels it, but the people who are doing it actually would feel it, and that's going to make or break the project essentially, right? And that comes by through hunches and experience and whatnot. But I think keep that in mind. Do not take any session lightly. It's no less important, no more important than the one before or the one after, right? They're all equally important. It's very, very important. It's imperative that we keep that in mind. Hopefully this analogy made sense. I just drew the parallels because I've been watching cricket, the Test cricket off late, and in the last night I was watching one of the sessions from the 5th Test match between Australia and England, played at Hobart in Tasmania. There is a session I was watching which actually was extremely important, right? And I think it's going to change the face of the match. So, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should just draw a parallel to what I do and share it with folks. Hopefully that made sense to you. And before I end the video, as is customary, please check us out if you haven't already done so at snowpal.com, and download the web and the mobile app from the App or Play stores, and be productive, okay? Be organized, and have a nice weekend. Thank you.